These are all things that you realize you're doing some good. We saw that we could use our abilities in a way that people never thought. I let millions of dollars, and these days billions of dollars, ride. And I just say, we're going to let it ride today.
Welcome to Celebrating Justice, presented by the Trial Lawyers Journal and Cloudlex, the next-gen legal cloud platform built exclusively for personal injury law. Get inspired by the nation's top trial lawyers and share in the stories that shape our pursuit of justice. Follow the podcast and join our community at triallawyersjournal.com. Now here's your host, editor of TLJ and VP of Marketing at Cloudlex, Chad Sands.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Celebrating Justice, the podcast that takes you into the hearts and minds of the nation's top trial lawyers. For our premiere episode, we're honored to feature a true titan of trial law, Hunter Shkolnik from Napoli, Shkolnik. Hunter's notable battles against corporate giants such as 3M, DuPont, and Teva Pharmaceuticals, among others, have not only set legal precedents, but have also led to groundbreaking settlements totaling billions of dollars. But before we get to the stories, I asked him, why did you want to become a trial lawyer?
That's actually been asked a bunch of times recently on profiles, and it's a pretty simple answer. I come from a family of doctors, and I was clearly supposed to go to medical school. My first year of college, I didn't do that well. My next 4, I did very, very well. But I was not getting into medical school in the United States. So I said, you know what? I'll go to law school instead. And then I started suing doctors. Actually, I started defending doctors. Then I went to suing doctors. So there's probably some therapy issues there that can be gone into.
Yes, a little schizophrenia. So did you always want to be a plaintiff's lawyer, though?
Well, I was on a plaintiff's firm very briefly because I had been clerking in law school. And for a few months after I stayed with that firm, my mentor, the senior partner there, died in a plane crash. And I just said, this place is not for me anymore. And I went to a very large defense firm, large in those days. Today, it's, 400 lawyers is not large anymore. But then it was considered a big firm. And I joined them and did defense right away, a defense trial lawyer. Spent almost 5.5 years there. And they offered me the youngest partnership they'd ever offered to anyone in the firm. And I realized I'd become middle management in a bank, and I just walked out and became a plaintiff's lawyer.
Interesting. I didn't know you started out on the defense side. With that in mind, the second question of the podcast has to do with how you differentiate yourself from others. So what makes you unique?
Well, I don't think I'm unique. I think there's a lot of really great trial lawyers out there. I am lucky to work alongside some of the best and most successful lawyers in our industry. And when I say what I do, it's, we do very large mass litigation, environmental, pharmaceutical. And with my partners, we've been able to develop a law firm that has been successful beyond my wildest imaginations. And it allows me to work with literally the best of the best in, the trial lawyer world, to be able to share a courtroom with the likes of Mark Lanier, Jane Conroy, Peter Mouget, and Mike Papantonio. These are people that make a difference in a lot of people's lives based on the case we handle. And we, be able to work alongside as co-counsel. I should say I'm the lucky one as opposed to, that I'm somehow enlightened in any way.
Some of those names you mentioned, what you guys are doing is pretty unreal in terms of holding these corporations accountable.
I would say just this past year, we had probably $18 billion in settlements that we were leading in. Year before, we were part of the opioid litigation with these other great lawyers. And I left out names like Paul Geller and Elizabeth Cabraser, the Joe Rices and the Paul Farrells. We bet the ranch to go into that because we knew it was right. It was something that had to be dealt with, and people laughed at us, and we did it. We got over 52 billion, maybe 55 billion by now of settlements that are going out to help treat the opioid epidemic. And now Now we have over 14.5 billion in environmental settlements for the PFAS, AFFF, cleaning up our water supply. So when I say all of us, not just my firm, not just me, but all those of us who gamble in these big cases are making changes. I mean, people's water are going to be clean because of this.
It's not just a case.
It's not the car accident cases that I saw when I came out of school. Let me put it that way. And I don't, I'm not putting down people that have regular personal injury practices. I started there. We still have one. It's just, we saw that we could use our abilities in a way that people never thought personal injury or trial lawyers could ever do. We were more the butt of jokes as opposed to fixing the ails of society. It was easy to throw stones at us and say ambulance chasing, but now we're making sure families have clean water. We're making sure there are treatment centers for opioid addicts. It's kind of mind-boggling.
It is mind-boggling what you guys have been able to do and the impact you've had on so many people.
We always looked at it as, we're helping people. There's no question. We're bringing these cases, getting compensation to people who are hurt. But then to move into that model and move it into being able to address social ills and social harms, that was supposed to be government work, and they just weren't doing the job. And they didn't have the money to do it. They didn't have the resources. They just don't have expertise in these areas. So now for us to step in and be able to represent those governments and municipalities to do what the governments want to do, but they don't have the tools at their fingertips to do it themselves. So it's a win-win for the governments, the municipalities, and the lawyers, of course, as well.
Absolutely. Next, I'd love to hear a story about a case that has really stuck with you or made an impact on your career. Could you share a story?
There's a lot of them. I would go to cases like where I've represented families, just salt of the earth families that went through tragedies. One former Vietnam era UE helicopter pilot who years later is running a family helicopter business, commercial transport with it, and he crashes and survives, but horribly injured. And when you sit with a family like that, someone who is just such good people, and you spend weeks and weeks with them during a trial, and then you win a verdict, big verdicts, and you realize it changed people's lives because he had everything going for him. He had this great business, but without him, it was sliding. And with the help of the verdict and the money they got, he was able to save this family business, and it could have gone away and they would have had nothing. So those type of cases, I think. But then, we just tried an opioid trial for 7 months in New York, and taking a verdict against companies that were so recalcitrant, that refused to take any responsibility and were just denigrating the whole process, and then have juries come back and hit them, where they're like, you'll never get us for liability. And the jury said, yes, you're liable. And they went from offering pennies to paying $500 million, $750 million, maybe more, in these massive settlements. So, and knowing that money is going to those communities that they were pretty much laughing at during the course of the trial, these are all things that you realize you're doing some good.
At CloudLex, we understand the challenges personal injury law firms face every day. That's why we've built the Legal Cloud platform to help you stay productive and keep your cases moving forward. CloudLex provides a comprehensive suite of applications and features to support every stage of intake, pre-litigation, trial, and more. From innovative case management to insightful analytics and HIPAA-secure client communication. CloudLex empowers your firm with the technology to thrive. Build your firm of the future and see for yourself at cloudlex.com. Now, here is this episode's closing argument.
What's, I think, really important to understand is, I got into being a lawyer kind of by accident. But over the years, I realized that the tools we were given, the tools I was given, the opportunities that it opened up allowed me to do a lot of good. I'm very lucky. I have wonderful family, grown daughters. One of them is a lawyer that works with me now. And to be able to work alongside her is something I never, ever imagined. But to be able to instill in her, as well as every other young lawyer that has worked with us or come across my path, I try to make it an opportunity to help them and help them grow. I think the opportunities for young lawyers today are not the same opportunities we had. And it's a shame. It's a skill that you don't get taught. It's a skill you have to learn. So I get to bring young lawyers with me. And I think I have a great opportunity to show the younger lawyers, the younger people, how to do this, how to do it right, how to do it professionally, ethically. And it may sound corny, but there are people that depends on us. Some of my worst experience in this space are always the cases I've lost. And any lawyer who says they don't lose cases, in essence, hasn't tried cases. And when I see families that need anything and everything I can get to survive, and for whatever reason a jury disagrees or we lose the case, that's devastating. And I always kind of second guess myself, what did I do wrong? And I try to bring those type of experiences to other lawyers, younger lawyers we're working with, so that they understand you're not always going to be perfect. You got to gamble. I don't go to Vegas and put money on tables. I can walk through a casino and never lose a penny. But I go into courtrooms and I let millions of dollars, and these days billions of dollars, ride. And I just say, we're going to let it ride today. And we're doing that because big companies should be required to take care of the mistakes they've made, the messes they've made, and the people we represent should get compensated. And I'd like to know I'm helping the next generation of those lawyers do what we're doing, and they're gonna do what I did in multiples.
That was trial lawyer Hunter Shkolnik from Napoli, Shkolnik, based out of Puerto Rico and New York City, just to name a few. Thanks for sharing your stories, Hunter. To learn more about Hunter, visit his website, nsprlaw.com.
You've been listening to Celebrating Justice, presented by Cloudlex and the Trial Lawyers Journal. Remember, the stories don't end here. Visit triallawyersjournal.com to become part of our community and keep the conversation going. And for a deeper dive into the tools that empower personal injury law firms, visit cloudlex.com/TLJ to learn more.